Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence. All things considered here on statewide member-supported Hawaii Public Radio. Today we're welcoming back a returning guest. He's playing a series of dates in town with his band, August 22nd in Hilo, August 24th in Kauai, the 29th at the MAC on Maui, August 30th at the Waikiki Show. They've got some other interesting activities planned for their visit we'll be hearing about. They're touring to support their latest album, Amid the Noise and Haste, from SOJA. Vocalist and guitarist Jacob Hemphill returning to the program. Aloha, Jacob.
How are you? Yeah, aloha. Nice to be here.
Good to be talking to you, my brother. And how's everything been?
It's going good, dude. We're wrapping up the U.S. tour with Michael Franti, and we're headed to Hawaii, and we're lucky enough to be bringing him with us.
Yeah, you're excited. You got a whole series of dates coming up here. And anyone coming with you? Is it just the band or anyone in the family coming along?
The Oahu shows are going to be Michael Franti and Spearhead, and the Big Island Kauai shows are J-Bug and Anuhea.
That's nice. Good mix. Got some local folks on there, too. With Anuhea, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we think about, I know that you just did I don't know, it's not exactly your hometown, but it's right in that general area. You did a sold-out return to the home area, if you will. You were in D.C. And I know that your dad has always been an influential person in your life, right? I don't know if you remember, we were talking about that a couple different times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And anything cool when you get into the home stretch? Does that bring extra folks like that to the show? People that you haven't seen in a while? Is it more of a special thing?
Hometown shows are good because it's people you've been playing in front of forever, and they're excited for you, but they're also a good measurement bar, of if you're doing well or if you're kind of slipping. So I think we always try to do real well at hometown shows, and the Hamilton show was no different.
Right. Anyone in your family come out and catch the show?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. And I guess I think about you in that way because of getting to live in Africa. Not a lot of musicians you get to talk to have that kind of background. I always hear such an international vibe in your sound. And I just wonder if you have any new personal insight into some of the situations there after getting that privilege, if you will, of having your family background take you to that continent.
You mean like with music?
Yeah, and also I just see stuff in the news, when I see Ebola, when I think about the situation in Nigeria, and I just think what a worldly cat. You got to live in Liberia. It's really soaked into your approach, and I just wonder in your consciousness, has it been tugging at you, if you will?
Well, it's tough when you see Africa, and you see two things. Number one, it's too bad they don't have a ton of oil under the ground, because if they did, we'd help them. And number two, we've devoted so much of our time into the Middle East and into fighting wars there for 40 years. And you see these people in Africa dying by the 20 and 30 and 40 times the numbers of what's going on in the Middle East, and it's pretty bad. And then you see the guy's picture, who's leading the child army, and he's got the gun, and the gun says "Made in the United States of America." So it's always tough for me to see all that stuff. Yeah, we screw those people over time and time again.
And you bring a lot of consciousness to the music. Amid the Noise and Haste, where does the title come in? Give me a little insight into how that comes to be the name of the latest album.
That is my favorite poem of all time. The poem is based in kind of trying to convince people that maybe the point of the world isn't to accumulate as much stupid crap as you can, and maybe the point of the world is trying to find a way to be happy while you're here. And that's something that I've always kind of figured was probably pretty important, was figuring out how to be happy, and that's what that poem's about. So Desperata by Max Furman.
In addition to being happy, you also sort of have an element of trying to help people too. I would think you would also think that's probably equal in terms of what you're supposed to do here. You have a track on the record, Special Significance in the Fight for Equal Rights in the LGBT community, translation of one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, every generation has their own translation of one, you know. And for my dad and his dad, it was African Americans and getting them included in the word one. Before them, it was, getting Jews included in the word one. And the generation before that, it was getting women included in the word one. I figured it's my generation's thing. And also letting people who smoke weed and letting them out of prison. We haven't done that one yet, but I'll do that soon. And I'm sure I'll have one. I mean, I got a ton of these fights, you know, getting violent offenders away from people who have mental problems. Because in this country and in most countries in the world, if you don't fit into a box, you go into the box. And it doesn't really matter what you did. You just get thrown in the box and, you stay there. So there's a lot of these things we got to, in life you got to put yourself in other people's shoes. And if somebody's dumber than you, you can't sit there and go, well, yeah, but screw him, he's dumber than me. And if they're smarter than you, you can't go, well, screw that guy, I think he's smarter than me. You're really supposed to understand that we're all here, and maybe we're all supposed to be here, and maybe the universe is unfolding exactly as it should, and maybe I should try to play my part. And that's what songs like Translation 1 are about in the greater scheme of things.
Inclusion, essentially, of folks who are somehow on the fringe.
Understanding, yeah, compassion, love. It's all the same thing.
Right. No.
The antithesis of competition and accumulation. Which is what we base our whole lives off of.
Say that again.
The opposite of accumulation and competition. Which is what we're taught. That's what life is about. Is having more stuff than everyone else. And that equals happiness. And, a lot of Hawaiians probably listening right now know that that's bullshit.
Yeah, a lot of message in that. No, I knew that you would have and it's a great video. I like the that live shot. Where was that, if you can even recall? A huge crowd, gigantic presentation.
Which video is that one?
The one that the Human Rights Campaign has for the translation of one.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the Brazilian shots.
That's a nice one.
That's one of the it may be Brazil or somewhere in South America, but that's where we draw those kind of crowds.
When you do that kind of thing, Jacob, is a different kind of, is it harder to concentrate? Is it easier? Do you kind of feel all that extra consciousness there? Is there anything there on that?
I was playing golf with a friend of mine, and we were playing and we were having fun, and then this guy joined us and he was really good, and I was like, I'm going to start to suck because this guy's really good. And the guy looked at me and he was like, dude, you sing for 10,000 people for an hour and a half who you've never met before. And if you do one thing terribly wrong, like you have to do that in front of 10,000 people. Like, how can you tell me that you can't play golf in front of one new person? But I think it's just one of those things where, you build up to it. It's not like I started playing for 10,000 people. I started playing for 10 people, which was us, the band, and a few of our friends. And then you build it slowly. So it seems like I'm playing for a really big audience, but I'm used to this.
Right. And you can still get the message across. There's no...
I find it easier. It's much easier to sing to a gigantic audience than it is to sing to an audience of 100 people. Much easier. 100 times easier.
I get it. Depersonalizes it in some way.
Well, and it makes it more inspiring. When there's 5, 10, 15,000 people out there. We were in Brazil playing for 85 at it was us and then Damien and then Kanye and then Black Eyed Peas. And Michael Franti was in there somewhere, I'm not sure where. And it was like the easiest show ever. It's like you feel like you can't fail, man. When there's 85,000 people, screaming and dancing, it's like it's so inspiring and the energy's so raw that it's really hard to screw it up.
Yeah, that's a good backdrop. I like that.
It's like surfers with waves, man. The real surfers, like the bigger the wave, the more excited they are and the better they do.
Yeah, better results. I get it. It's a combination of the ingredients, if you will, when they come.
It's the human condition, man. The adrenaline kicks in, your heart starts pumping like crazy, your blood starts flowing, oxygen's going to your brain. You forget about hunger, you forget about thirst, and you just charge ahead because you're pure energy. And that's, I see surfers with the same look in their eye that I have when I'm running out on stage in front of 10,000 people with a guitar in my hand. It's the same. I think it's probably similar stuff.
It's great you draw that connection. I'm sure people here can really can relate to that.
And I'm trying to put myself in your shoes,
I'm listening to it, brother. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the love. When we think about, because when you mentioned a couple things, you forget about the thirst, the hunger. I was getting into what you were saying and how you get into that place where you become energy. And when I think about the kinds of themes you do try to tackle, you mentioned some of it with translation of one, but amid the noise and haste gathers together many different things that you're passionate about. What lyrics on that record would you say come from the place of deepest humility or revelation?
I would, that's a great question. I'm going to answer it a little bit differently than you asked. Basically, Amid the Noise and Haste is about, amid all this stuff, the soldiers and the gay rights and the drug rights and the I can't go to sleep at night, and we're destroying our environment, and our political system's broken. Amid all that stuff, when you look at them all as separate things, they seem insurmountable. I mean, it's just like life. How am I going to quit this? How am I going to quit that? How am I going to... But if you look at them all differently, in a different light, they all get kind of extremely easy, much like when somebody has a major change in his life, and now everything gets very simple to see from this third-person perspective. And I think life is like that in general. I think that if we could learn how to live, looking through the world with compassion for other people in their situations, that a lot of this stuff would be easy. We'd go, wait a minute, we can't rip down all the forests. It's ridiculous. And then somebody says, yeah, but you're going to get 2 cents less on your paycheck, and you can only eat 1 hamburger a day instead of 2. The guy would probably say, yeah, that's fine. I can't destroy the earth. And, oh, gay people can't get married. And then the guy says, well, actually, it's kind of messed up for you to tell other people they can't be happy. Think about if somebody told you couldn't marry your wife, and you say, oh, okay, actually, I see that. But the only way we can make those decisions and make them as easy ones is if we operate out of love instead of out of competition, accumulation, and hatred. So that's the point of Amid the Noise and Haste. Amid all this noise and amid all this haste, there's love. And if we can just find it, same way a 7-year-old kid holds the hand of another 7-year-old kid when they fall, if we can just find that thing, because we all come into this world as good people, and then we all become a bunch of assholes. So if we can just find that thing that we were born with and cherish it, and it sounds corny to say all you need is love, but if you can find that, and I bet all that other stuff, the noise and the haste, gets a lot easier, and that's what the record's about.
My mom passed away last year, and I can definitely, there's nothing corny when you say all you need is love. It sounds like the simplest phrase, but in fact, it's the
real deal. I'm sorry to hear that.
And thank you, but it's when you say that,
sorry to hear that.
There's a lot of truth.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, bro. It's true. I mean, I know what you mean. The love stuff. You ever think about this, how the reaction you get when you cry and the reaction you get when you laugh or are happy or or when you're sad or when you're happy is the same exact reaction. You cry.
It's a powerful, it's getting in touch with yourself on like a way deeper level.
There's love and sadness, and there's love and happiness, because sadness and happiness both remind you of the one reason why love exists, because we're mortal. Our mortality is the reason love exists. Love exists so that we take care of each other. If I lived to be 1,000,000 years old, you wouldn't care about me. You'd say, he's fine. But you know that I have a finite lifespan, and so you're pushed to take care of me. Love is what lets the human race live. If it wasn't for love, we would have never gotten this far, because we never would have taken care of each other. We are mortal. That is why love is here, to protect us, because we are mortal. And you feel it at a funeral the same way you feel it when a baby's being born. It's the same feeling.
It's kind of like
love.
It's like when you look in someone else's eyes and you realize there isn't a whole lot that separates us, and it's you're looking at yourself in so many ways.
And there's a phrase in Butsu in West Africa, and it means I am because you are. And it's true, without you there is no me. My friend, I had this real smart friend when I was a kid. When I was about 13, he said to me, look, if I could offer you everlasting wealth and everlasting life, and you could take your reign of this earth forever, but you could never talk to another living thing again, not a person or not even an animal who had human-like qualities. Just birds and fish, and that was it. And I thought about it for a second, because I always thought that what I really wanted out of life was everlasting life and everlasting wealth, because that's what I was taught by society. But I thought about it, and I said, no, man, I don't want it anymore. If I can't talk to anyone else ever, what's the point? And he said, exactly, because we need each other. I am because you are, and without you, there is no me. And that's the way that we're wired on the inside. You can feel it at a birth, and you can feel it at a death. It's the same feeling.
You know what it makes me think of? Just to quote another cat, I'm sure that you can relate entirely based on what you've already said. Because I've said this to people since, because I do this bit every Friday now called Helping Hand, and it tries to help out different kinds of people in need. Every Friday, it's like an interview with an organization that's fighting for people in need. And
wonderful.
And
good for you.
Thank you. And I use, at the end of it, I use Lenny Kravitz's "Let Love Rule." The end of that is like just fade out music. And there's a phrase he says in that song, and you just made me think of it. And he says, because it sounds like it's a very just like a cliche, but man, is it deep. And he says, "Love transcends all space and time."
Yeah, that's a fact. There is, and when you talk about space and time, and you think back in time to humans that you may remember, they all share one thing. Bob Marley, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Jesus Christ. There's one thing that they all did better than anyone else in history, and that's love people. And we never think about, the Donald Trumps and the Dan Snyders and these guys who've supposedly won at life, depending on our definition of winning. They've won. They crushed Jesus, and they crushed Gandhi, and they crushed Bob Marley because they're richer and more successful. And maybe they had longer lives, and we're taught to believe that's what matters. But look at who humans remember. We don't remember none of those people because we truthfully, deep down, do not give a shit about success and longevity. We care about love.
That's right.
And we express it in all of our actions. Our government won't listen to us. Our government won't listen to themselves. They try sometimes, and they fail a lot because we let money and competition rule their decisions. It's not even necessarily their fault all the time. I think we've all just come so far from what we're supposed to be that but go to a funeral, man, and you'll remember what it's like to be human. Or go hang out with your buddy right after you had a kid, and you'll remember what it's like to really feel real human feelings again. And that's the stuff we remember. It's the stuff we care about.
Jacob, a lot of the time these kind of illuminations take something heavy to get to, and the passing of someone significant, it changes a lot of your outlook. I'm just curious whether it was, and you don't have to answer because it's a very personal question, but if there is any root or thing that brought some of this consciousness into your life.
No. I think life is a long process if you let it be. If we sit around and do what we're taught, which is refuse to change and grab as much crap as you can, then life is kind of like a jail cell. It's like a sentence where you go from one situation you hate to the next situation you hate. But if you kind of look around and see life as something that's going to keep coming at you, you got to keep learning. You got to always change who you are as you learn. And you got to try to, enjoy yourself the most, have the best time you can while you're here, and learn as much as you can. Keep an open mind and put yourself in other people's shoes. Then it's a process. It's a journey, and I'm just at the stage I'm at in my process, and I encourage anybody else who's out there to be at the stage they're at in their process. Don't try to copy somebody else's, but please don't close your eyes to yours. And that's something that I and a lot of other humans have a problem with, is closing our eyes to our own very obvious situation. So, just try to keep your eyes open, man. And that's kind of my goal, I guess, here.
I love it. Well, it's reflected in your music, and I always appreciate getting to talk with you. I hope that maybe when you're in town in Honolulu, if you get any time, I'll try to work with your people. If you don't, I understand, but it'd be great if you stop by the studio with an acoustic, do a little thing. I would really appreciate it, and I'd really enjoy the kind of dialogue that's capable with you, dude.
Thank you very much for saying that. I like to talk. And we're definitely shooting a video with Anuhea and J-Boog for the song Easier, the fourth single that we dropped while we're out there. So I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have, but definitely talk to the boys and see what we can do. And it's good to talk to you, too. Aloha, Hawaii. This is Jacob from SOJA. And you're listening to David Lawrence on All Things Considered. Thank you for supporting us, Hawaii.
I appreciate it, Jacob. Stay safe, man.
Absolutely. I'll see you in a bit.
Take care. Aloha.
All right.